Have you ever felt like your mind is just running a race without you? That constant chatter, the worry, the restlessness? Well, today, we're diving into how to take the reins of that inner world. And it's not just about quieting it down, it's about building a state of real, lasting peace.
So, here's the journey we're going to go on. We'll kick things off by asking where happiness really comes from. Then, we'll get to the bottom of that racing, galloping mind. We're going to look at what's fueling it with a cool idea called the mental diet, and then explore how to take back control. And we'll wrap up with a really powerful practice called the detached observer.
All right, first up, let's tackle a huge question. Where does happiness actually come from? Is it something we have to go out and find in the world, or is it something we build right here inside ourselves? So, think about this for a second. Can you truly be at peace if you're not happy? The whole answer really depends on one crucial thing. Is happiness something you get from the outside, or is it something you create from the inside?
This right here, this requires a total shift in how we see things. So instead of saying, this situation is making me happy, the idea is to flip it and say, I am creating happiness from this situation. It seems like a small change, but trust me, it's incredibly powerful.
Just remember, things that happen on the outside, they're just a trigger, a stimulus. We're the ones who take that stimulus and actually generate the feeling, whether that's joy or anger or hurt. And when you really get this, you move from a place of feeling powerless to a place of security, because if you're the creator, you only have to take care of one person, you. Okay, so we've established that we have the power to create our own feelings. But what's the big roadblock? Well, let's identify that common problem, the restless, out-of-control mind.
This metaphor of a galloping horse just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that feeling of a mind running wild, totally untamed, just full of thoughts that seem to have a life of their own.
And here you can really see the heart of the problem. A peaceful mind? It's slow, it's calm, it's clear. But a worried mind? Oh, it's fast. It's just buzzing with a constant stream of what if, why, how. The speed of our thoughts is directly tied to how we feel.
So, what do we usually do when our mind is galloping like that? We reach for a quick fix, right? We put on some music, maybe we start dancing, or we do that whole count to 10 thing. And yeah, those things can work for a minute, but they're just temporary. They create a little gap, but they don't actually solve the real reason the mind was racing to begin with. So, if those outside-in fixes aren't the real answer, we have to look inward. What is causing the mind to gallop in the first place? Let's get to the root of it by looking at what we're feeding our minds, day in and day out. You see, every single thought we have is shaped by these three things. Our past experiences kind of create a blueprint. Our environment and everything our senses pick up gives us constant input. But it's that middle one, the information we choose to take in, that's the one we have the most immediate control over. And this brings us to this key idea of a mental diet. It's actually super simple. Information is the food for your thoughts. And just like junk food creates junk energy in your body, well, consuming junk information, things that are violent, negative, or full of fear, creates junk energy in your mind.
Here's a perfect, real-world example of how this plays out. Your mind is like a sponge in the morning. It's super absorbent. So if the very first thing you feed it is a news story about a terrible accident, you've just handed it a bunch of toxic raw material. Is it really any surprise, then, when your child is a little late coming home, that your mind just naturally jumps to a fearful thought? Of course not. You fed it the ingredients for that fear earlier in the day.
All right, so we've identified the problem and we've diagnosed the cause. Now for the good part. Let's explore a practical, proactive strategy for taking back control. And this is where it gets really practical. In the morning, when your mind is most open, just postpone the news. For the first hour, maybe two, absorb pure, powerful information. Give your mind high-quality ingredients for the day. And then at night, try to avoid violent or really disturbing shows. The last thing you consume affects your mind all night. Just 10 minutes of something peaceful can set the stage for a much more restful mind. Now, managing our information intake is a huge proactive step. But there's also a reflective practice we can use to actively reprogram our mind's automatic reactions. So this is a little nightly meditation. First, just relax. Then play back your day like a movie, but try not to get swept up in it. Watch yourself, your own performance, like a detached observer. Without judging yourself, find a moment where maybe you could have acted differently, maybe with more patience or more kindness. Then simply replay that scene in your mind, but this time you see yourself responding in that better, more powerful way.
And here's the cool part. This isn't just about dwelling on the past. This exercise is actively reprogramming your mind. By mentally rehearsing a better response, you are literally training your subconscious mind to choose that positive path automatically the next time you're in a similar situation.
And this is the ultimate goal, right? Moving from reaction to response. A reaction is automatic. It's not in our control, and it leaves us feeling powerless. But a response is considered. You are in charge. You are empowered. This is the shift from being a passenger on that galloping horse to being the one actually holding the reins.
So in the end, mastering your mind isn't about finding some magic trick to stop your thoughts. It's about consciously choosing the ingredients you use to create them. So the only question left, really, is this: what food will you feed your mind today?